Hello, hello again. Alright, anybody watching, probably looking at my videos and maybe getting, maybe disappointed in the quality here, because I don't bother editing anything. I just kind of shoot the video and then upload it. This is mostly for myself, probably for a couple of others. I'll kind of point to point the playlist of all the videos to, just be like, here's something I'm doing. But whatever the case, if you are tuning in, appreciate you watching. Hopefully this is not too dull. This is basically kind of the way I do solo RPGs. I'm still relatively new to it. I only started last, in terms of kind of like the mythic style, of solo RPGing, last spring, I believe it was, with my Edge of the Empire campaign. I'm using OBS to record this. You may be able to tell that just because the icon's in the bottom. I cannot make this capture just Chrome for some reason. I don't understand why OBS is being so difficult, but I cannot figure out how to make it just capture Chrome, and that's it. Instead, it just captures everything on the screen. So I'm just going with the display capture and saying to hell with it. Okay. So last time I was kind of working a little bit on the campaign. This kind of continues. I have this here. I've created... what I'm going to do, I think, I'm going to do this for each of the each location. And this will allow me just to have a single Google Doc for every town, settlement, whatever, city, point of interest, whatever, right? So I created this for Port Cirric, which, again, thanks to my brother Sean for the name. I do have some more random tables now that I think I can generate names, and I'm just going to keep. I'm going to flip over here. So the fantasy name generators website, which I'm sure if you play RPGs, you are definitely probably familiar with this page. I'm going to keep this up, and I'm going to make use of this a lot probably for generating names. So I've created document for Port Cirric. So we have the population of about 950. It's about 90% human and 10% demi-human in terms of the population. The economy, as we determined last time, is trade by sea, all with other towns and cities kind of along, and nations, whatever, along the same coast. But there's a little bit of trade with nations across the ocean, such as the northern reaches. That's how this ship is coming in. That our main character here is, or our first player character, initially the main character, is going to be on here. So they have a religious worship of a single god, the god of the sea. Sorry, I actually did come up with a name for that, and I flipped it, Eladriel, and I flipped that to the goddess of the sea. The town wealth is lower class, generally. So, I mean, there's going to be some more wealthy people, but maybe, but probably not a lot of them. Generally, it's a lower class kind of working, working class kind of people. Sorry, I try to, when it comes to my text, I have a thing about trying to keep things uniform. So I notice periods at the end of some and not at the others at first here. So I'm just kind of syncing them up. Resources. It's known for fruit trees that grow along the coast. I gave this a name further on in this. The Fassa fruit trees. I don't know what Fassa fruit trees are at the moment. They grow along the coast in and or like near and kind of outside of Port Cirric. That's what they're known for. That's one of their biggest exports. And the town appears though is fairly welcoming. So I take that as meaning that it's relatively safe as kind of port towns go. I came up with a few details on my own here. So Port Cirric is a small town on the northwestern coast of this continent. It is the closest port for vessels traveling from the northern reaches kind of to the south. That's why Egil is going to end up here. I kind of came up with a few little details. It was founded in the year 856. And I believe for my campaign setup we have... Oops, sorry, I've just got... So it's the year 976. So, the town itself is more than 100 years old, about 120 years old. It's friendly, so it's mostly a working class. Its friendly nature and colorful buildings make it a favorite amongst, many sailors and adventurers that pass through. and it's a relatively safe port town, so it has a thriving business on trade between various communities, as I kind of mentioned there, which again, most everything else in that paragraph I already touched on. So the folk of Port Cirric are friendly and welcoming of strangers as a whole. I figured this probably makes sense simply because it's a trade town, right? The more trade that comes in, the more money that's flowing through the town or into the town. The people of Port Cirric worship the sea goddess Eladriel, of which there are many temples and monuments throughout the town. I came up with a few other details of my own here. So an annual festival celebrates Eladriel. If I need to, I'll worry about the name of that and kind of how things work. But generally, during the festival, the people of Port Cirric offer up symbolic sacrifices in the hopes that Eladriel blesses the town with calm seas and good fishing, right? So we have some very basic kind of ideas as to the town. It sets an overall tone for the town. So that's kind of how I'm going to deal with our points of interest. My campaign notes here I'll try to keep track of a few things here, such as the PCs, NPCs, gods, that kind of thing. Our campaign setup kind of goes back to what we were dealing with before. One thing I did decide, I've been looking through the rules here a lot more, and it has been so many years since I played original D&D stuff. D&D Basic Expert, etc. Honestly, I forgot how different the game used to be in a lot of ways. I was just reading about initiative just before kicking this off, and initiative doesn't quite work the way that I remember it. I probably ran it this way, but when I was a kid. But for the life of me, I didn't remember this. That it's a D6 on each side to determine initiative, and then there's an order for how things work out. Not kind of like, there's no, I'm not going to use individual initiative. The basic set provides a basic, group initiative as the default and as the main rule. That's what I'm gonna stick to that. But I forgot that there's an order as to how things work. And I lost my initiative stuff here. Is this the right book? No, it's not. That's why I lost it too. So there's actually an order to how things work in the old school game, and suddenly I can't find the combat rules in the player's manual. Combat rules are on 58. Does that seem right? I was almost there. So our order of combat, right, is you roll initiative using a d6. Highest goes first. If it's a tie, everything actually happens at once, which is kind of interesting. So that I completely forgot. But I also forgot it was a d6 for initiative. I always thought it was d20s. But apparently back in the day, no, I wasn't rolling d20s. I was rolling d6s for initiative. So the side that wins the initiative acts first and does everything in order. It's a morale check. This only affects monsters and NPCs. Then everyone does their movement. Again, everyone on that side, right? Then missile fire combat. Then magic spells. Then we get into hand-to-hand combat. And then the side that lost the initiative goes through all of that as well. Then we kind of deal with handling retreating, surrender, and any other special results, right? So there's a very strict order of play for combat, considering it's group-based initiative. Okay, so another thing I just kind of came up with is how I'm going to deal with XP. Back in the day, I never gave XP for collected gold, or at least I'm fairly certain I didn't. Maybe I should check with my old players to see whether that was the case or not, but I don't think I gave XP for gold. However, in this case, the way I'm going to do it is that we'll calculate XP based on the value of the opponent's XP, right? If they're killed. Or I think subdued counts if they're captured. But not if they escape. That doesn't count in old school D&D. And also, it's 1 XP per gold piece collected as treasure. This is only in treasure that they find. And then what I'm going to do is divide all of that by the PCs and the retainers. So a PC gets a full share, retainers get half shares, and to determine how much XP each individual is going to earn. Okay, I'm just going to close that. I don't really need to keep looking at that. That's how the game's going to work here for me. Our session notes here, I like to kind of keep track of things, and I'll always write session reports at the end. So I'm going to keep a table here. So far we have Egil of the Northern Reaches, a first level thief. So basically I'll just kind of keep track of the name of the PC and their level. Over time, if PCs start dying and we attract more, maybe there'll be some differentiation and differences kind of in the levels, right? I think maybe I'll just very quickly open the campaign setup again, because I think this is the way we need to do it. So every new PC starts at first level. I'm gonna go with that. It throws things off, but it also there's a penalty for dying. Now, I have no limit on how many player characters I'm going to have. Maybe eventually my guys form a guild and then all the guild members become player characters. I don't know. We're a long ways away from that. Session notes, like I was saying, scene 1, and then we're starting to start with the chaos factor of 5. My scenes are going to be a little more open-ended rather than what I would do, say, in most, like if I was using Mythic for other games, like my Edge of the Empire campaign. A scene has a beginning and a very clear end. You know, as things kind of find their way to what feels like the end of the scene. I call the scene, we kind of go to fade to black type of thing, or and we go to the next scene. I'm going to be a little more open-ended in the way I deal with this, and I'll call kind of scenes when I feel like I've kind of accomplished something that I want to, or things have changed enough. So if they're kind of wandering around town doing things, I'd like to keep that open-endedness going and allow that. And so the scene might just be, a day in Port Cirric or something like that, right? Coming back to here, again, I don't think I need to track my scenes here. In fact, I think I can delete this entire page. I probably don't need it because I have generated I have a Google Doc, and that works better. So actually, I'm just going to delete that page. I don't need that. Our adventure lists as well are still here. Our scenes and chaos factor, I'm just going to take that page right out. Don't need it. And then, oops, hello. And then we have the adventure list, and we have map 1. I shared this just kind of as something I'm doing. People had some feedback as to how maybe I should go about dealing with my hex crawl, and I don't expect to be leaving town. I don't expect to be leaving the first town during this session. I think over time I'll create maps for each of the towns too. But for now, we'll kind of go from there. Port Cirric here. I'm not expecting the first session to be kind of dealing with anything outside of town, so I'm not even going to bother with the hex crawl stuff. But it was suggested by the creator, Flextail hex crawl toolbox and such. I'm going to use some random tables in that I really like. I may eventually kind of go through and use more of the hex crawl rules, but mostly I was really looking for some good random tables that give some weight to what your current area is. I didn't want to just start pulling from, like, I did the Kickstarter for the hex crawl toolbox. I don't want to just start pulling random stuff. Oh, hey, now it's a body of water. Now it's a mountain. Now it doesn't make sense. So, but Flextail has some cool tables that if you are in a plane, if you're on the plains, and you move to the next hex, it's weighted towards being something like planes or something else that makes some sense. So I'm going to make use of that. Maybe not exactly how it was intended, but that's how I'm going to kind of kick things off. So, what I also want to do here, so we're actually going to kind of get going. once again here, I will be using Mythic, so I've got a bunch of the tables printed off to make use of. But before we really get going, I kind of also wanted to consider, do we have any threads that need to begin here? And I'm thinking maybe we do. Actually, I think we need to have a bigger... whatever. Threads list. I don't know that that's necessarily a really much of a thread, but I think I'm going to just steal it as kind of something so we have like the beginning of a thread. I'm going to probably expand on that as we go. Egil Explorer, let's do this a little bit different. Egil Explores Port Cirric. To find, be very D&D gamey about it. To find an adventure. There we go. Boom. We have a thread. I'm going to be messing around with all this stuff as we go along. We're going to begin here. Just because it's the very first scene, I think I'm going to give us some meaning tables here. And I think I'm going to use our, I think I am going to use Mythic to create some meaning, a meaning table for the first scene, which I have as the Port Cirric docks. So let's roll some dice. So we're going to use the action tables of Action 1 and Action 2 here. 99. Usurp. Okay. So already sounds potentially crazy. Action 2 here. 84. Usurp strength. Usurp strength. Okay. Alright. Throw that into the chat here just to keep track of a little bit. Usurped really, since he's on a ship, that really suggests to me, I mean, a mutiny? Maybe a mutiny. The strength could be that, you know, the captain is the strong one. And I'm thinking maybe that's it. Yeah, so as they're the seas are, you know, relatively calm. I'm not rolling for weather or anything right now. The seas are relatively calm as Port Cirric and the mainland starts to come into view of the ship. We need a ship name. Let's get a ship name. Can I have a ship name? Ship name generator. Fantasy. I don't like any of these so far. These are terrible. These are absolutely terrible. All right, we're gonna skip the ship name. Since I saw a unicorn come up, how about we call it the Prancing Unicorn as the ship name? We need a captain. Oops, do this again. Fantasy names. We need a pirate. I think a pirate name makes sense. First of all, let's go. Is the captain a male? Again, we'll give that a 50-50, which right now we're on chaos factor of 5. No, it is not. She actually then. Female names. Nightmare Gale, Alice, Coombs, Clovis, Enigma, Marvel, Bucker, now, Iola, Lincoln, Polly Rowley, Twitching, Polly Rowley, Reaper. These are funny. I think I need a little more fantasy names here. I'm going to go with human. Do we have... Oh, there's nothing human there, so let's just kind of go... I know there's human, so... yeah, let's continue on with this. Alright, these name generators is not going to last too long. Here we go. Mad Eye, Lorna Mad Eye Rassler. How about Mad Eye Hayes? Mad Eye Hayes. Female, human, ship's captain. What do we know about our ship's captain here? Let's flip to Un. Un is always handy for coming up with some information about characters here. I'm going to pause this recording for just a sec. Alright, paused because I got stuck dealing with a dog. Okay, let's find out with our modifiers here. Okay, we're going to use the NPC modifier table 1 here. A 100. Confident. Confident. I'm going to make a roll on the noun table, even though we kind of know what she is, but just in case it comes up with something interesting. 51. Monk. Nah, we're just going to ignore that. Confident. Confident sailor. We're just going to kind of choose, we're going to go with that. Motivation. And I'm going to kind of roll on this. So we got a verb and a noun here. So we're going to start with a verb. 46. Publicize. Interesting. Weird. Okay, and the noun. 31. Publicize the law. Oops. I'll fix that. Although I'm going to use the Z spelling, even though I know that's wrong for Canada. Really, people use it generally as a mix. Publicize the law. I'm going to be going with... So here we go. This is what I think is going on here. So the ship's crew has been unhappy during this voyage from the northern reaches. The crew is not thrilled with the way the captain is running the ship. The captain's been a little hard on them, in part because they... Actually, there we go. That's what happened. So, Captain Mad Eye. I'm thinking walk the plank. I'm thinking marooned. Two of the crew members on a skiff of land out in the ocean as punishment for something. I don't know what. It doesn't even really matter. The crew is not happy, so little does Captain Mad Eye know, but she's actually becoming a target. And as they're approaching, they're only a few hundred meters off the. They're only a few hundred meters off the coast when the crew go to take the ship. Okay, I'm thinking that, sorry, I actually just realized I need to pop in my date here. I'm thinking that, Egil doesn't have a, doesn't have a horse in this race. He has probably gotten along with the captain. Actually, let's leave it to fate. Has Egil become close to the captain? I'm going to say, based on kind of what little we know of Egil so far, I'm going to call that unlikely. He is a thief. He's kind of really just on here for passage. He's looking for fame, fortune, whatever. I'm going to call it unlikely. So, has Egil become close to the captain? 99. Absolutely fucking not. So, in fact, because that is an extreme no, anything in this case, actually 99 and 100 would be an extreme no. Egil has taken a strong disliking to the captain. So I'm thinking, the captain is a bit of a tyrant, and Egil feels the abandoned crew members didn't deserve their fate. Yeah. So when the crew mutinies, Egil's up on deck, and all of a sudden there's a shout of "Whoa! Take the ship!" and swords are drawn, and the captain and her her loyal crew members, I would say, those higher ups, I'm thinking maybe the navigator is on her side, and maybe the sorry, my knowledge of sailing terms suddenly just went gone, and I even ran 50 fathoms for a while, so I should know some of this. The man of arms type of that's not the phrase I'm looking for, but the captain probably has a few loyal crew members who, as the rest of the crew draw swords or daggers or knives and rush the captain. Many of them, the captain, hears the shout, knows that something's amiss, because the crew has not been happy all voyage ever since she marooned two of her crew members, probably to die. And the captain turns, she's probably got the wide brimmed hat, all dressed in red, I'm thinking, and throws aside throws aside the long coat tails and draws her own sword and turns just as they begin to descend on her, and her loyal crew also draw weapons and engage, and there's a clash of steel, ching ching, as the battle begins. But Egil really has zero interest in getting involved, and he's now just kind of on the outskirt, just on the outside of this fight on the deck. He's not friends with the captain or anything like that. He's not up at the wheel. He's probably at the front of the boat, at the bow, or at the bow, enjoying the enjoying the sights, and watching Port Cirric, get closer and closer. When the roar goes up, swords are drawn, and the battle, is the battle's engaged. Everything goes to hell in a handbasket. just using stupid cliches. He turns around to notice this, and throws himself kind of, to the very front of the ship, and kind of hunkers down on, in a crouch, kneeling onto the deck area there, and watches as the battle unfolds. He's not getting involved, but does the battle kind of end up, because the wheel's going to be further back generally. He's at the front of the ship. What are the chances it's going to spill over into the front of the ship where he is? I'm going to say it's very unlikely, but we're gonna give it a roll here. So chaos factor 5 again. Very unlikely. Unfortunately, yes. The battle starts to spill over into the front of the ship, and Egil is forced to make a decision whether to join the fray or not, because there's swords being swung. He does not carry a shield. He's a thief, right? So a decision's going to be needs to be made. He looks around as several crew members kind of things went bad for one side, and he's not even sure who's on whose side at the moment, because it's not the captain and the main people on the ship that are up front. It's a bunch of the lower deck hands that kind of rush forward. Some of them obviously things weren't going well and are rushing towards the front to try to gain some ground and be able to kind of. Sorry, my brain just kind of flipped again. They're kind of rushing away from those who are attacking them or who are fighting with them, in the hopes of getting a better foothold to defend themselves and turn the tides. Egil looks around for a quick escape. There would be ropes attached to the ship and ladders and such. Can he make can he, where he would also be, there would be a rope going up too, into the masts, kind of along a bit of a line. Is that something that's worth doing? We'll pull up Egil of the Northern Reach. Oh, by the way, I did also give him a token. So we're going to kind of just look at his skills here. Oops, wrong skills. Class. Climb walls, 87. So I'm going to call that climbing. So he is going to attempt to climb. So he's got an 87. Actually, can that roll on itself? How does that work in here? He's going to attempt to climb up and away. 87. Did it roll? Nope. We're just going to roll it. 71. Egil sees the battle about to kind of push into his space, and he leaves the bow of the ship, hurries towards one of the ropes that lead up into the masts there, and next thing you know, he's climbing his way hand over hand underneath the rope with his legs kind of wrapped around the other rope as well, and hurrying to get himself up and out of the way, where he nobody really is going to care about Egil. I think they know he's just a passenger, and he's choosing not to take sides. That can potentially be a bad thing. I should say like this. Okay. In the end, I'm not even going to bother making this a big fight or anything, or because this really was just a weird little sidetrack. Oh, hey, there we go. I noticed wants to climb walls. They need 87 or lower. Okay, I got you. So if I do that, explains what I need to do things. Okay. So who wins the battle? Is the mutiny successful? I'm gonna say it's likely, because I think they've got more people, and I think they're kind of mad. With apologies for the weird lighting at the moment. It's just the way the light's coming in my window here. I'm gonna call that likely. So 65 or under. That would be a 14. That is not quite an extreme yes, but yes. In the end, the mutiny is successful. Successful, and so when is the captain killed? Is the captain killed? I'm gonna give that a. I'm gonna say very unlikely that. You know what? I'll give it a 50-50. Is the captain killed? 56. No, the captain is not killed. The mutineers take the ship, capture the captain, and the other loyalists. Oops, and her loyalists. But since they're mutineers, they may not actually want to go into port like this. So, are they going to continue into port? I'm thinking, are they going to continue into port? That is nearly impossible, because they're now mutineers. They've taken this ship. If they go into port, they're all going to they'll probably all be hanged or beheaded. So we're going to call this nearly impossible. So that's 15 or under as a yes, they go into port. No, they don't go into port. Instead, I believe what they do is they offer Egil one of the rowboats. Yeah. And soon Egil arrives in Port Cirric in a rowboat. Several hours of rowing later. Alright, not several hours, but... And that's a place where we're going to have to stop.